Hello, and welcome to this Cultivating Curiosity webinar from Center for Inspired Teaching. My name is Jenna Fornell, and today we're excited to bring you an exploration of what it means to raise social awareness in our classrooms, build that empathy muscle, and do it all through play. First, some background. If you're joining us for the first time, I'd like to introduce you to Center for Inspired Teaching. We are a social change nonprofit organization that champions the power of curiosity and is dedicated to transforming the school experience from compliance-based to engagement-based. We do this through transformative, improvisation-based professional learning for teachers that is 100% engaging intellectually, emotionally, and physically. Inspired teachers are instigators of thought who center all instruction on the 4 I's: intellect, inquiry, imagination, and integrity. They build their classrooms around 5 core elements: mutual respect, student as expert, purpose, persistence, and action, joy, and wide-ranging evidence of student learning. And when this happens, students and their teachers love coming to school. Of course, undergirding all of this is a focus on building relationships and nurturing students' social and emotional learning. And tonight we're looking at one aspect of that SEL experience. In an increasingly connected world, it is more important than ever for students to develop social awareness, a capability CASEL defines as understanding the perspectives of and empathizing with others, including those from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and contexts. How can we teach that in schools? Well, today's guests, Dina, Buchbinder, Auron, and Brooke, Wallace, suggest we can do it through play. They are with the organization Education for Sharing, an organization Dina founded in Mexico in 2007. Dina is described in bios as someone who believes that the power of play can change the world. Since its launch, Education for Sharing has helped millions of children, educators, and parents across 13 countries become global citizens and agents for social and environmental change. The slides I'm sharing here give you a little glimpse into what this organization is about, and you can likely see the beautiful alignment with what we're trying to do at Inspired Teaching. So now, without further ado, let's hear from both Dina and her colleague Brooke. We'll start by having them tell us a little bit more about themselves.
Oh, hello. My name is Brooke Wallace. I'm really excited to be here with all of you, and I just excited to really talk about play and to see joy and see how important joy is for all of our students. I am currently based in San Diego. Been here for about 5 years, but I'm from the East Coast and worked about 13 years in New York City in many capacities as an after-school provider, as well as a operations director for an elementary and then a middle school, and just really appreciate all the incredible work that educators do. I've been able to see firsthand the impact you all have in your work, bringing students joy, connecting the dots, having that light bulb go on, and having that joyful experience. And so we're excited to be here today and to share a bit about how we play and teach through play. And I hope you all enjoy it.
I am Dina. My honor is uh, to have founded Education for Sharing 17 years ago. It's as Jenna shared, a global movement dedicated to transforming education and learning. We do that through play. So our organization is built on the belief that learning doesn't need to be confined to a one space, whether it's textbook or test course, because really you know it better than anyone. Learning happens everywhere. It happens in the playgrounds. It happens in the games we play. It can also happen, and surely happens, in the classroom and at home. And mainly it happens in the interactions that we have with each other, right? And at every age throughout life. So we're all about creating better global citizens that know that from the local arena, by integrating this beautiful recipe or formula that is play, reflect, and act into, and bake it into the learning. So we work with educators of all walks of life in every geography, so that this incredible human beings that are dedicating their lives to a better world can also develop relationships with young people to become more empathetic and creative problem solvers. So we've had the privilege of, as Jenna said, working with over 2 million humans, students, educators, families worldwide. We are present in the US and in other 12 countries, all through the lens of playful learning. So thank you so much for being here and for having us.
Thank you so much for the work that you do. The more that I hear about and learn about and read about the philosophy of education for sharing, it's so in line with what we believe here at Inspired Teaching. But the world tells us that school is serious work. So how do you help educators and communities understand that play is where serious learning occurs? In other words, like, how do you make that mission happen?
I love this question. It reminds me of one of my favorite people. God bless him, he passed away, Sir Ken Robinson. He would say, we don't grow into creativity, we actually grow out of it. So we sometimes get educated out of it. And our work in education for sharing is to flip that script. We work and share and co-create with educators play that is not the enemy of serious learning. It's actually a powerful catalyst. So when kids, and by that kids of all ages, play, they're actually learning about key skills like cooperation, collaboration, strategy, negotiation, empathy, all the essential life skills that simply can't come from memorizing something, no? So we really do all sorts of partnering with schools. We do professional development and workshops and design different curricula where educators experience firsthand how play really can translate abstract concepts into very concrete and relatable experiences. So we have different, like 1,000 different games, where one is called the Sustainability Challenge, where students can literally embody the different roles within a community and need to negotiate for resources. And they laugh, they play, they have fun, and they learn as they do that about what is the very delicate balance of sustainability, and they can practice like the key life skills as empathy and problem solving in real time. So one of the main factors in being able to convince the educational community of the power of play for learning is we become like bridges that allow sometimes adults, many educators, to reconnect with their own relationship with play. Like, what was your favorite game when you were a child? And what does that have to do with who you are today? It's not only reconnecting in a professional level, but also on a personal level, because many people forget that teachers are persons, are human beings, no? And that's something that we want to change. Um, a simple imaginary journey back to our childhood can reveal many of the cognitive, emotional, social, and physical skills that we develop through play in all its glory from our early ages and onwards. And these become essential skills in our adult lives. No? So it's essential for us as educators and communities to understand really firsthand that play is our brain's favorite way to learn. And because it allows for holistic learning that connects with all these different levels of social, emotional spheres, but also with the most maybe even cognitive or physical aspects. So it's all thread, it's all weaved in, because we through play, we reason, we imagine. Our mind and body are not a separate, not separate entities. They're like integrated, and they create a space where children naturally explore and connect ideas that can make learning a more holistic and meaningful and joyful experience.
You know, here in the United States, there are actually a lot of articles that point to the fact that we started seeing a pretty dramatic decline in the amount of play that was happening. Like recess got shortened and all kinds of things with the advent of the No Child Left Behind Act that was passed in the early 2000s. And there was just sort of this focus on, oh my gosh, our students aren't learning, they aren't performing academically. What can we do? We don't have time for play. We got to get more, we've got to pack in more academics. And I know that the work that you do is international in scope. Is that something you see, like, are lots of places having less time for play? And do you face a lot of pushback where people are saying, we don't have time for this?
That's, I mean, teachers, I'm not saying something you don't know, but teachers are really feeling overwhelmed. They have so many demands on their table. And so to juggle with those demands is hard as it is, but that is the more reason why we need to include play. And sometimes when we hear or we get that kind of pushback that you are sharing, we have an information session, let's say, and in the information session we play. And this is a really important moment for teachers that, because of all those demands, sometimes are thinking like, I don't have time for play. And it's that's what we are taught, basically, that play is like an extra or something that we can do after homework. But if we actually embed it into homework, and if we embed it into every activity that we do in different ways, that's also the power of play. Is like infinite. There are so many different ways to bake it in. And so, for example, one thing that we've done very, very purposefully is to align in some of the countries where we work, the local standards, with a playful curriculum, so that they can actually be teaching what they are requested to teach, but they're also developing the experiences in a way that feels completely different, no? And some teachers say like, no, I just can't. I feel like I can't manage my group. So why do you want me to play? And we're like, yeah, well, that's why, because play will help you have a better relationship, not to manage your group, but to really create an environment where everybody can feel safe, heard, seen, loved, and also like with a great deal of passion and enthusiasm to participate respectfully and peacefully.
So a big part, tonight we're talking about social awareness, and a big part of developing that social awareness is growing our capacity for empathy. And you've talked about lots of different things we can learn about collaboration and teamwork and compromise and all those things that happen when we're playing. But can you talk a little bit about that piece of empathy and how that happens through the work you do at Education for Sharing? And if you can share some specific examples, both of how you teach teachers about this and what you see happening with their students as a result of that teaching.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing all on the chat, like your experiences. Just, if you allow me, before I answer your question, Jenna, I love how like specific the example that Jennifer Lee shared is like, you one of your favorite games was Chinese jacks, and also love playing newspaper, and with friends, right? It's socially engaging and interactive, and complete with a full staff of very young journalists venturing out into the neighborhood to pay attention to and notice things, and later write about them. So probably, I don't know, maybe you're a better writer, maybe you're a better collaborator because of that. Maybe you know how to listen better. Maybe you are more empathetic, right? So education for sharing empathy is at the heart of everything we do. We deeply believe that before students and all of us can actually care for the world, we need to care for each other. And so we use learning through play to build that bridge. One of our most effective ways is through role-playing games where students also put themselves in someone else's shoes. And by that, whether it's a peer, community member, or even a tree, right? So, for example, one game that I love is called the Water Guardians, and has the students act as both protectors and consumers of a water resource. And they soon realize that what they do actually affects the entire group, and it's interconnected, sparking like really beautiful and rich, deep conversations about what does empathy have to do with interdependence, and what does it have to do with personal and collective responsibility, right? We also work with teachers in creating these experiences by creating experiences that help them reflect on their own social awareness. Because sometimes we are asked to create social awareness, and we all could use a little revisiting of our own social awareness, right? And so we encourage teachers to, yes, model empathy in their classroom, and turning every moment of conflict or collaboration into a moment of learning. And the results that we have are really powerful. We've seen students use a different way to resolve conflicts in a more peaceful way, but also seeking out different ways to help others, to go beyond, to go like beyond themselves. And whether it's standing up for a friend who's being teased, or organizing a community cleanup, all that to say that empathy and the rest of the social emotional skills are really everywhere in the education for sharing model and activities in all our educational offering. We have several activities that are designed specifically to promote empathy and social awareness. However, when we play with others, we're already involved in this exercising empathy, right? Or noticing that we're actually not exercising empathy. And that in itself is really, really useful. We have these reflection questions after we play, where we will be like, hey, Janasia or Maggie, did you practice empathy? And maybe Jennifer will say yes or no, and why. And that process of actually reflecting on it really, really helps us to understand what difference does it make in us, in others. We have evaluation also of the results of the E4S programs that actually allow us to understand how the practice of empathy increases among children, and also sometimes among teachers. For example, according to, we have an entry and exit survey evaluation that is applied in all of our projects from 2015 to 2019, and there is an increase of the reported practice of empathy on by average on 28.4%. And maybe lastly to say like that through these collaborative activities, students that are playful, students can actually learn how to solve problems, to understand their perspective and the other's perspective, whether they agree with that or not. And that's okay as well. But applying these strategies, educators see changes in their in themselves, and also in their classrooms, and students help their peers more to express their feelings, to show respect, and to better understand our and others' emotion process in a supportive way.
What are we talking about in terms of the amount of time it takes to do these kinds of things and the preparation?
That's an excellent question, because again, we're talking about the scarcity of time, right?
Yeah. I know. I keep coming back to that, but I'm thinking that I know I feel that anxiety that I know a lot of teachers feel. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we have several curriculums, and most of them have 8 sessions, and each session on average can take 1 hour.
Okay.
So these programs for sharing, we have all kinds of programs: science, art, digital citizenship, sports, initiatives, which is project management. We have an umbrella of different programs. And the idea is that together with the teachers, we coordinate to see how often, like maybe every week, they have 1 hour of like this built-in curriculum that aligns with what they're teaching anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole point for us, or the systemic change that happens in our work with teachers, is when teachers realize, using this curriculum of 1 hour every week, after the 8 sessions, they're like, it's like part of their training to implement these sessions and to realize that these sessions are really really fun to implement, but it's also a real game changer. And so teachers start to create their own games in relation to the curriculum that they, or the learning objectives that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like the when we say teachers have graduated from education for sharing, when they can create their own play, reflect, take action experiences in relation to what they are teaching. Yeah.
So then thinking about those three things, the play, reflect, take action, might be something where once I've worked through one of these kind of modules, then I might look forward in my curriculum and think, oh, I have to do this history unit, or I have this science unit, and now I'm going to look at it through that lens, and I'm going to think, how could I play? What would we reflect? How could we take action?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, and it's for really, imagine educators from public schools, private schools, mostly public schools, but we've worked with educators from museums and community centers, and we've translated, like the history example that you give is like we've translated, um, for example, redlining in a museum in Kansas City was an exhibit that they had, and they were trying to make it more experiential and more connected to, why do I care now about this, and what can I do, and how can I relate
Mhm.
as a change maker, as a global better citizen, a local and global better citizen. And so it's really, it gets, that's what I love most about play. It gets as concrete as it's possible.
How do you describe play? Because I'm realizing that I'm thinking about play, especially with the examples that people put in the chat. And I feel like listening to the examples you're giving, you have like, it seems like an expansive notion of play. It's not just playing basketball, it's like a variety of things.
Well, I love that question. I would say there's a very short way to put it, and many longer ones. The very short one is, play is being present. Play is being here and now. And we enter into a space where where everything is possible, and our sense of wonder and of possibility is awakened. That's how I describe play. I mean, and I could stay on for a long time elaborating what play means, but I think in essence is really that. It's a place, and sometimes it sparks joy, not necessarily because you're laughing or smiling all the time, but it sparks joy because you discovered something, or because you were able to solve a challenge, or because you are enjoying being at the challenge in itself. So it's not, sometimes there are a lot of misconceptions on play, and one of them is precisely that maybe joy is just like a set image, and it can mean many different things that are essential for our development as human beings at every stage of life, really.
That's a absolutely beautiful description that you gave. And then when I think about it that way, it actually, for me as a teacher, gives me a whole new array of things that I might think of doing in the classroom. It doesn't have to be just the playground games, or it doesn't have to be the board games. It could be a whole range of things. Um, so
Exactly.
that brings me to my next question, which is, inspired teachers are always looking for ways to bring new strategies and activities to their practice. Is there a particular game you could teach us tonight that builds empathy?
Absolutely. No, actually, I mean, if we didn't, then what do you think, Brooke? If we didn't, that wouldn't be very
That
coherent. It
that's
wouldn't
not
make
our
a lot of sense, right?
Right, that's not our style. We like to play all the time, all the time. So we're definitely going to play and show you a really quick, easy game tonight that we're going to play all together now virtually, and can be played in many different environments and different age groups. This game is Shadow Shadow. So it's similar to, in my past, what might have been called Follow the Leader. And so again, you can do it with any group size, really pre-K and up, more or less. And the activity can span, it can be very quick, like we're going to have it right now. It can be longer. And really the developmental goals of this game are to develop creative thinking and social emotional skills, empathy included. So we're going to play this game now. With this game, you'll typically designate a guide or a leader, and then the remaining players and students are the shadow, right? And so the leader will make movements, again, depending on where you are. If you're in your classroom, they can move around. If we're virtual, you're going to see my movements. They're going to be mostly from the neck up. And then the other players need to mimic those movements, right? And the way we play this is that we usually play for, a couple seconds or so, 30 seconds to a minute, and then we have the leader can choose someone else to be the leader. So we're going to start where I'm going to be the leader, and I'm going to start by doing a movement. So we can do a practice round. Right now, I'm going to do this movement. So you're all shadows. Let me see you do the movement. Good, 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 good. Excellent, excellent. Shaking my head. Okay, great. Now my next movement is this is my favorite movement with my nephew. And then I'm going to do this. All right, great. I'm going to see Susanna Lane. Can you now be the leader? Susanna, we're following you.
Okay. Maggie, do you want to take the next round?
Sure, I'm holding my phone though, so it's gonna have to be one-handed, or else I will drop my phone. Okay,
You
here
can
we
do
go.
it. Yeah, I
All
believe
right.
in you.
don't know if you can hear my cat chirping in the background. She's there. She's joining in. Okay.
Perfect, perfect. So we could go on and choose different folks to be the leaders in this game. And then, as we've said in Education for Sharing, we really focus on intentional play. So we play, and playing for the sake of playing is wonderful and has a very important space. But when we play, we're thinking about how does this align with the goals we want for our students? And that can be academic, and it can be social emotional skills. And we can create games in order to have students interact with those topics and learn from them. So here, part of what we do after we play is we reflect with our students. We reflect as a group. And so Susanna and Maggie, as my students, you can stay off screen. One of the questions I would have for you was, what was it like being the leader? Like, how did that feel, being the leader of that game, of Shadow Shadow?
It was a little awkward, but it was also like I had to get extra creative. And also there wasn't like time for me to worry if something was silly because I was just in the moment. I had to just do it.
I love those opportunities. As someone who gets anxious, I like just being able to be put on the spot and just act. Susanna, how did it feel for you to be the leader?
Yeah, I would say very similar. Like I just didn't have time to like get worried about it. So I just kind of put my teacher hat on and started, making funny movements. So
Yeah, absolutely. You both did incredible. Thank you for, being such team players here. And another question I may ask is, how would you feel if someone was chosen to be the leader and they were a little nervous or scared? As being a leader yourself, being put on the spot, how would you feel for someone else that had to take that role that maybe was, a little nervous about it?
I mean, I think that seems like to me, that's like the whole point of the game, right? Is like that you kind of have to go along with what they're doing and in a way like show support, right? Because you're copying them. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I can't think of a specific example, but I think that's where the empathy part comes in, right? That you kind of do whatever they're doing or help them. I'm not sure, but that seems like that's sort of the point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think what like as a participant, you want to be following the leader. That's the whole point. So you like it is a little bit like if you don't have the teacher hat on, it is a little bit scary. So like I could be like, I understand. It's kind of a weird situation that you maybe haven't been in, but it's okay because everyone will have a chance at some point.
Absolutely. I think, and that's a game to show empathy, what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. It might, someone may think, oh, it would be easy to be the leader. It would be so fun. And I don't understand why they may hesitate. And then once you're put in the position, you gain that empathy of understanding, oh, that's how it felt. It wasn't as, it could have been a little challenging. So, that's an example of a game there where you can play empathy, and it's where you can, teach that skill through learning experience, that empathetic skill. And it's quick, right? It's a very quick game. Another game we have, I'm going to describe it to you. And this one really is one that takes a larger, class of a full class, and it's called Lumberjacks and Rangers. And in this game, you would have, it focuses on empathy, not only towards each other and your classmates, but towards the environment and animals. Really thinking about, we focus on the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. And so this is, Goal 15, protecting land, life on land. And it also encourages teamwork, etc. So in this game, you have students line up in 2 rows, and these students are trees. So they're just standing tall like a tree for our yogis. And then you'll have, depending on your amount of students, you'll have 2 to 3 animals that live in each tree. So they'll be standing by the tree. They're little squirrels and owls and whatever animals you can think of. And then one student takes on the role of the forest ranger. So they're there to protect the forest and make sure everything is flourishing. And then you have 2 players who are lumberjacks. And for a living, they cut down trees to make the things that we all need, build our houses, our desks, and etc. And so during the game, the lumberjacks will go down and pretend to cut down these trees. The students will sit down if they're a tree that is cut, and then the animals, the students that represent the animals, need to scurry and run around and find another tree to live in because now their home is gone. It's been cut down. And so as the lumberjacks are cutting down trees, the forest ranger is coming in and putting them back up. So they have to tap the child, and the tree grows again. And so basically you can play for 10 minutes or so and really sit down with the students afterwards and reflect, how did it feel being the lumberjack? How did it feel being the animals that have to scurry to find a new home? And so through this game, the children are getting different perspectives based on what role they play, right? So you can play again and have other students as lumberjacks and rangers and trees and forest animals and etc. So, that's really just an example of a really creative game that you can play to teach empathy. And I think, one of the things that we focus on at Education for Sharing as well is we have our programs that we implement that have curriculum that's written, but we also provide professional development to our educators. And through this, we, make sure we have time where we can really sit with our educators and think about, what are your goals this year in your classroom? And how can you create games in order to teach these skills and these lessons to your students? And that's when there's a lot of time where you can take and reflect. This game could be a game you play in, 20 minutes, or it could be a game where you have students assigned certain roles and they research, what exactly do lumberjacks do, or what animals, live in the forest, depending on what your goals are. And using each other as resources is also incredibly important. A big part of what we do when we work with our educators in professional development is we see how many games we all know. And then when we share those games with each other, the options are endless, and there's different ways to implement those games to teach the different goals that you have. So it's all incredibly busy, teachers, all you have to do, but play can be infused into every single lesson that you want. It's just, taking the time to think about how to do that. And that's one of the things that we love to do.
Yes, because we are very eager to continue to create a community of teachers that love to play, that can support one another. You know, we don't ever want teachers to feel as though they're on their own. I think that's very much what you also do at the Center for Inspired Teaching. And I think we're together in this mission. We truly deeply want teachers to be happier, to because that's what they deserve. I mean, teachers dedicate their entire lives to raising better humans, and so we want these teachers to have the most joyful experience possible.
I think it's been very evident through what we've seen so far, not only the importance of play, but also how right in that moment, the minute you start playing, everybody's smiling and everybody's having fun, even if you feel uncomfortable. It improves the mood. And so that's just the foundation. That's the foundational part of it, right? And then you have all of these other lessons and skills that are attached to this that just make it even more meaningful, and not just for the students, but also for the teacher. And so building that community, speaking of teachers who love to play, we do have a video that we are going to share that is a teacher talking about his own experience with Education for Share.
Hi, my name is Mr. Young, and I've been a teacher here at ECEC, UCSD's Early Childhood Education Center, for about 6 years. And what I appreciate about the play-based learning modules from Education for Sharing is that as a teacher, it can get very busy on the day-to-day to think about who I am as a teacher, how I teach, and why I do what I do. But I really do appreciate how these modules have allowed me and my fellow teachers to hold the space and the time to reflect and to learn through play how to set up spaces for the children and to ignite learning. And it's nice that we have these opportunities to work and talk with teachers that I haven't seen for such a long time. And we have these workshops and trainings maybe twice a year, and I think this is the most I've heard my fellow teachers laugh and the most I've seen them smile in a very long time. And it's nice that we get to step in the shoes of the children and to also learn through play. And I hope that me and my fellow teachers can incorporate these learnings and these trainings into our day-to-day practice. So I'd just like to thank Ms. Dina, Mr. Misa, Ms. Brooke, and the rest of the team, the teaching team at Education for Sharing, for this opportunity. And we hope to see you again soon.
It's very evident that this is, making waves in teachers' lives and getting them to kind of look through a different lens. How can we get involved with Education for Sharing, or how can we learn more information about what y'all are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. We are so excited and looking for more ways to get involved with educators and communities where we're always looking to bring our programmings into classrooms as well as our professional development. So, really there's a lot that we can do to work with different educators and communities, focus on what their needs are and really align to their goals, and a lot we can provide. So in addition to our programming, we have our professional development that we have with educators. We're also coming up with new modules, really exciting modules on climate action and empathy. And so that's, part of what we're going to be offering. So we're always thinking and getting ideas from our educators. What are they interested in? What do they want to see when it comes to learning through play? So, we would love for you to reach out to us if you're interested in learning more and have further questions. You can always reach out via the website, educationforsharing.org. Reach out to myself, Brooke Wallace, and let us know what you're interested in learning. So we hope to hear from many of you after this.
Yes, and we will have a follow-up email where we'll include Dina and Brooke's information as well as the information for their website.
I had a question about, I wonder about your experience in inviting administrators into playing with, with the teaching staff and with young people. Sometimes I worry that administrators, I worry about them getting left out of the play.
That's such an excellent question, because we are interdependent, right? We depend on others to carry out it's not just ourselves. It's like we belong to a community, and so the administrators can be either a blessing or not at all. And so what we always try to do is make sure that in the professional development opportunities that Brooke was sharing, we really make an emphasis in the administrators being present. We make a really important aspect of it, because also, to be fair, administrators really enjoy it. It's just how do we get them there? How do we make sure that they make the time and the space to be there? And so it's part of almost like the negotiation that we make before we do a professional development experience in a school.
Yes, we definitely encourage them to attend. In fact, I recently went to one of our partner schools in San Diego, and the administrator was there and having so much fun. And it allowed her to really reflect on her goals for her school. And part of it was they had a actual, almost like they had a time of day where everyone had play. But she realized that wasn't enough, that play is supposed to be in every class and not just for the 45-minute segment during the morning. And so it really opened up her mind to opportunities and also gave her ideas of how she can work with her staff through play, right? She saw teachers smiling, having a great time, learning, connecting the dots. And it's an approach that she can use when she's providing professional development or learning experiences to her teachers. So yeah, we highly, highly encourage that administrators participate as much as they can in the professional developments.
Love that. Sandra's asking, what are the focus pages for the climate change and empathy modules, and when are they coming out?
Yes, it's for the climate change program. We're calling it Climate for Sharing or Climate for Change, Brooke. And we're designing it for upper elementary and middle school. And that one is coming out of the oven early 2025. And the empathy modules are already happening. It's called Culture for Sharing. It's a virtual exchange between kids from different geographies to get to know each other and to demystify some ideas uh, or acquired misconceptions, and also to see themselves and to value their own culture, where they come from, who they are, what can they share, and also to be curious to learn from others, who are others, no, and where they come from, and to exchange traditions and all sorts of. So it's a beautiful empathy uh, centered curriculum.
It's exciting. So we're in San Diego, we have a group of 5 classrooms that we're working with through grade 1 and grade 5. And we're partnering up with classes in the Yucatan, and they actually speak Mayan there. So it's not just Spanish. It's really, really powerful. And also some classes in Tijuana, which is, right across the border here in San Diego. And it's fascinating because I'm excited to be here for these classes, because many of the classrooms in San Diego, a lot of the students are Mexican, but they still have a different culture and an experience being in San Diego. So we're all just really excited and thrilled to have these students learn about each other, but also understand their culture, because we live our culture every day and we don't see it as such, right? We just see it as our daily routines. And so this really gives us a time as well to, reflect and learn about, what our culture consists of. So it's a really powerful, powerful program.
Are there any curriculums or methods of play that are good for neurodivergent or special needs students? This is from Janica.
Yes, thank you so much. There are like a myriad of different curriculums and resources of in learning through play that are appropriate and desired for neurodivergent or special needs students. If you share your email, I can be sure to share with you a list of resources.
What might the take action part of the E4S model look like for a game like Shadow Shadow or Lumberjacks?
Wow, what a great question. Thank you so much. After every game, we always ask, like, very simply, what do you think you learned in this game? And what was this game about? So, for example, some kids might say, this game was about leadership or about empathy or about, because we usually play it in person, right? And so one of the questions that we'll ask in the reflection part is, did you think of the person that you were leading for the kind of exercises or movements that you were doing? And sometimes people say yes, but sometimes they say no. And so we're like, so what can you do different from today onwards? Like, what would you like to do about the game you played starting from today? And kids come up with, again, really profound thoughts and action item ideas. And it might be something like as simple as, today I will see my sibling in a, like, I will take notice if what they can do, like how I relate to them. It can be as simple and powerful as that, or it can have a connotation in gender, for example, no? Because then sometimes we have roles. Who's the leader? Who's the follower, who's the guide, and who follows. And in some of the countries where we work, there's a lot of misconceptions of like the man will lead and the women will follow, or such. And so we're like, what did you learn today? What would you like to do differently? And some kids say like, today I'm gonna go home and play this game with my family and make the reflection that we can all lead and we can all follow, no matter who we are, where we are, what our gender is. And so these are the kind of take action part. They can go to their neighborhood and replicate the game, or they can actually lead better. And in the lumberjacks, I think there's so many, but probably like not jump to conclusions as to like what is right and what is wrong, or who's bad and who's good, just like right off the top uh, of the game, but really have like a more maybe wondering about our own assumptions, questioning more, being more curious.
And
But
it can even be placed towards, okay, so we all, what can we do so that we don't have to use as many trees, right? And so it can be applied to lessons of how to protect the environment. What can we do? Can we buy recycled paper? Can we bring bags to the grocery store? What are what are simple things that we can act on so that we're protecting our forests? And yeah, so it really, each game can have such profound discussions and really lean towards, as an educator, what do you want to focus on with the classroom? Is it, right? Is it the social emotional skills? Is it the concrete? We need to think about recycling and ways to preserve our environment. So there's a lot of discussions that can happen, and a lot of ideas about how to act, and through the games as well, and through education for sharing. Agency is a big part of what we're teaching youth. Is, you can be, a little third grader and decide to teach your, to treat someone better, or you can, take action in your neighborhood and have a cleanup of the beach. You don't need to be an adult to make change in your community. It starts immediately. And I think through these games, it hits home more because there's an actual experience being made. So that action portion is key, because what they're learning through these games is going to make them more thoughtful global citizens.
This whole conversation is making me think about expanding vocabulary. And I love that in all the different examples you gave there for take action, that also encompasses a broad range. That part of taking action can be a mind shift. And then part of taking action can be going and cleaning up a beach, that there's like a whole spectrum within that. And we've had a lot of interesting conversations over the last couple of years, actually, particularly with the youth programs we do at Inspired Teaching, which are exclusively with high school students, that sometimes that whole notion of take action and be a change maker and, be an activist can be a little overwhelming to adolescents who are sort of like, I'm just trying to figure out how to be a person. Like, I'm not trying to change the world right now. I just want to be a person in the world who gets through today and tomorrow. And I love that in that notion of taking action, that there's all different ways of doing that. That might just be, it might be as seemingly small as a conversation at the dinner table, but that conversation at the dinner table can actually be big in terms of its implications.
absolutely, that's how much it can range. And despite everything we've heard, we always get surprised by the different take action proposals and possibilities. And that's what we want. Play in itself is a language.
Mm-hmm.
So it transcends maybe the vocabulary barriers, or enhances them. So it's really a very friendly tool that can go about, or can go beyond the typical obstacles. Or we work in many different countries with many different, even like Spanish speaking countries have very different ways of of saying things or expressing culturally different expressions. And so I think when we play, we've experienced that when we play, we are all going from the same level playing field. So that helps a lot. And sometimes even in the US, we get asked a lot to come in schools because we are like a bilingual group, right? So we have all our materials in English and Spanish, and we can provide professional development in English and Spanish. And so, I mean, it's one of the widest, the more spoken languages in the U.S. and we've worked with teachers that also help us sometimes translate it to their own languages. Like we've worked with so many indigenous groups, and we wish we spoke their language, but because it's through play, when we go visit them, we see that they're teaching they're doing all this learning through play in their language, and we know exactly what they're doing because we played it together.
I cannot thank Dina and Brooke enough for joining us tonight. I feel energized and excited, and I'm thinking about how do I turn all the things I have to do tomorrow into play.
Yay!
We have played, we have reflected. So I'm going to invite those who are with us now to take a minute after all the ideas that are percolating. Does anybody have an action in mind that they're thinking of taking after this conversation?
No, I just want to thank you so much for playing with us today. And again, just thank you for all the work you do with your students. It's the impact you have is incredible. The work you have is challenging, but we're hoping you can infuse play and make it more joyful for your students and for yourself.
Yes, I fully echo what Brooke said. I am very grateful for your time today, your presence, and for inviting us from the Center for Inspired Teaching and Learning. I Yes, we are your biggest fans, educators' biggest fans, and we hope to connect with you, to learn more about you, to understand what is your favorite way to bring learning through play into your daily lives and into your classrooms. If we can be of any support, of any help at all, we'd love to team up with you, and thank you for all the work you do. You're changing lives every day. Thank you.